Hi, I'm Rob, the more masculine half of TwinFinity. I am here today to do some questions and answers. We've been asking for questions specifically for the masculine, and we've asked for them, but we've also been getting a lot of questions specifically for the masculine side. So today I'm going to take my first real direct run at answering some of these questions. Today is a little bit special because, first of all, I'm doing this all by myself. It's all my own technology other than a tripod that Angie has supplied me to use to hold my phone up off the table. And yes, it does feel a little bit odd to not have Angie here, but it's also a little bit exciting. I was nervous right up until the time I hit the play button, and now I'm all excited. The adrenaline's all kicked in and I'm ready to go. Today's questions. I am going to do something that I normally don't do. Normally when somebody submits a question, we don't mention their name. But somebody who we have met, her name is Christina. We have met her numerous times. She has journeyed from Australia to North America, and we have met her at workshops that Angie and I have either hosted or have been part of in some fashion or another. Christina has put together a list of questions that fills up a page. Both sides. Thank you very much, Christina. This is going to keep me going for quite a while. This is going to be Christina Questions Video 1, Video 2, Video 3, Video 4, possibly even Video 5 by the time I get to the end of them. Christina has got to know Angie and I quite well, not only through the workshops, but she's watched, I'm pretty sure, every video that we've ever put out. All of our story videos, question and answer videos. And she has come up with these 2 pages of questions that I would say have probably fallen between the cracks. I have not read them as per my normal self. I have not read them specifically and thoroughly, mostly with the thought that I don't want to cloud myself down with too much 3D thought. With that thought in mind, when I get done the Christina questions, this batch anyway today, I'm going to throw in something that I would not call a fake question, but it was actually a question that I was asking myself. So a masculine asking himself a question and then coming up with an answer is probably worthwhile sharing, and I'm going to do that. So anyway, I'm going to get myself a little bit comfortable. I'm really wound up today because I've been dwelling on the question that I was asking myself. And the question that I was asking myself led me to want to do a video, so I'm going to tag it all together. Question number 1, and this will be all I'll get through today probably from Christina, has got 6 parts to it. So the first portion of every question is going to be, the masculine is used to forging his own way in life. How does he, in this case, cope with the realization that he has a predestined partner? Example, no choice in the matter. How does one cope with the realization that they have a predestined partner? That is actually a fairly tough one because it took a long time. In fact, it took about 17 years to come to realize that a person who I thought I wanted as a partner and then I changed my mind on for having as a partner when I fired Angie, and then she came back into my life in such a fashion that it was almost like a giant aha moment. Yes, I was right the first time. She is meant to be my partner, but things have changed enough that she actually fits in my life. How did I cope, let's say, the first time with the thought that she might be a predestined partner? The first time around, I never thought of her as being a predestined partner. I was just going through my life, meeting people, sometimes spending time with people who I found more interesting than others. And at that time, she kind of filled a niche that was not big in my life, but still very empty in my life. She had a very distinct spiritual corner to her, back when spirituality was something that I just had in a corner of my life. I wasn't even saying that I would be dabbling in it because I didn't give it any specific time. I didn't spend any specific portion of a week or a day being spiritual. I didn't meditate. I just took spirituality as it came to me and then tucked it away in my hip pocket and continued on with my day, even if it was only a spiritual minute or a spiritual 3/4 of a day or whatever it was. I would just continue on. But Angie really sparked that section of my life, and I didn't see her as being anything as a predestination. It was just an immense curiosity that fit very well up until the time that it came to the point that she didn't fit very well in my life. So when she came back into my life 17 years later, that is when the big aha moment of being predestined in my life came together. It really clicked, and it clicked in a very, very short amount of time. And because it fit so well, it was very easy to embrace. But of course, it's been 17 years of growth and change and re-perspectiving. I'll be prone to inventing words. Re-perspectiving that I had gone through that allowed the predestination to actually feel so natural. It was very easy to accept once all the other pieces of the puzzle had fallen into place. So how did I cope with it? I didn't need to cope with it. The first time around, it was just something that didn't work. And the second time around, it was something that absolutely worked. So I didn't need to cope with that. I would suppose that others, though, when they've been told that they're supposed to be somebody else's destiny and they don't want to embrace it, it would be absolutely stressful, I think. I think stress would be the answer, because they wouldn't have been told if they had not already some level of investment or friendship in the relationship. And so therefore, to be all of a sudden told that there's somebody else's destiny would really quite mess with them if they couldn't relate, if they didn't have some feeling of that on their own already. If they didn't have that, it would just mess them right up, I'm sure. They would almost want to run. That's a word. Yes, they would almost want to run. If they actually accepted it but couldn't do anything about it at that time of their life, then it would just be something that would preoccupy their thoughts all the time. I don't know how a person would really cope with that. I never had to do that. So that would almost be a question for somebody who is in that position. And that's really hard to ask somebody who's in that position, because most people that are in that position aren't in a position to be sitting in front of a video and answering their perspective of how they cope with that. I think it would be interesting to find people who are not with their divine partner, probably with somebody else, but willing to talk about their position in life. I would love to meet a couple of those people, or at least have a chance to chat with them, because I think I would have so much more to learn as well. Good question. That was part A of question 1. Each one of these portions is going to start out with the same half of the sentence. But question B is, the masculine is used to forging his own way in life. So how does he come to peace with the fact that his chosen partner may be nothing like his personal preferences or type? Yeah, that's a good one too. I like this. This is why I trust Christina questions. It's because, yes, she has chosen the questions that have fallen between the cracks. When I first met Angie, I was A, learning how to be a high performance manager, and B, maybe not even in this order, a raving lunatic athlete, almost sub Olympic level is what I'd call it. I was an athlete of all trades, master of none, really, but I was every day I would be doing something athletic, and I'm not talking about going into the gym for half an hour. I'm talking about every day I would do something that would drive your average person to the edge of complete and utter exhaustion. Yet that was my life. I enjoyed it. I lived off of adrenaline. And so when I had females in my life, they tended to also be gym jocks, aerobic style girls, or they were heavily into one niche that they did very well. For example, hiking would be a one way. They'd be people that wouldn't go out for a 3 kilometer hike. They enjoyed going out for 25 kilometer, or to put that in other perspectives, 15-mile hikes would be an example of a great fun day, where others would be going, oh my God, why would I ever want to do that to myself? So yeah, the ladies in my life tended to be quite athletic. That's who I was drawn to, because really that's all I had time for. I was either working or being an athlete. So when Angie came into my life, she did not fit that bill, but as I mentioned in the part A question, she was absolutely, totally targeted dead center into a portion of my life that was just starting to develop. And so I had some leeway for not having a crazed athletic person in my life. Now, in some ways, once the initial bits of the relationship got going, I could say that real life stepped into play and started to put stress on some of that. The day that Angie and I climbed Castle Mountain, which would be at least a 25-kilometer journey and a gain of 4/5 of a mile in altitude to get to the summit. Of course, you got to get there and then you got to get back. That was all that Angie could possibly handle in a day. In fact, she pretty much didn't handle it towards the end. Yeah, when she got into the truck and she had her arms down by her side and could barely lift her arms because she was out of energy, and I was having to feed her potato chips on the drive home just to get electrolytes and some energy back into her system. Yep, that was a bit too much. But at the same time, I had respect for that portion of the journey that we were on, and it did allow me to have somebody who was not a typical person in my life. Now, the second time around that Angie's in my life, she's got a bit more athleticism in her. She's inclined to get up in the morning and go downstairs and do some aerobic or weight kind of workouts, or do some trampolining at the start of her day. And yes, we go out to the mountains regularly and we do hikes. Maybe not to my maximum intensity, but we can definitely have a athletic life together. But also my priorities over the past 20 years plus have also changed. I'm not quite the raving lunatic that I used to be from an athletics point of view, although I still sometimes show some of those traits. I haven't let go of it all either, I'm proud to say. But I guess maybe with my more being balanced and her more being balanced, she can be an athletic person in my life, and I can be a spiritual person. I'm going to say in her life, a more spiritual person, definitely, than what I used to be. So there is a much more common ground. So as much as not being an athlete ultimately was a factor in our initial breakup, years later, we've both got stronger common ground, not only in what we both like, but in what it would be our other portions of our life outside of spirituality and athletics. So really, other things have come into our lives. We've grown and matured, and now there's a great deal of overlap to work with. Yes, when I want to go climb my giant mountains, I get to do that by myself. And yes, when Angie is doing meditations or doing communications directly with spirit, I tend to not be in the room. I'm off doing my own thing, letting her do her thing. It's much more balanced now. So, is it a factor? Yes, when it's supposed to be a factor. When it's no longer a factor, when learning has happened, when life has happened, it tends to work much better. I'm quite proud of Angie and I. It's turned out very well for us. And really, I don't think either one of us did anything deliberately. I really think that the divine had to let us work our way through that to have a chance to be together. Let's move on to part C. The masculine is used to forging his own way in life. How does he deal with the intense fears and worries about possibly going crazy as his life falls apart and spirals out of control? Yep, two sides to that story. The first time around and the second time around as well. The first time around when Angie and I were together, I don't think my life spiraled out of control much. It did for a while. I was way outside of my comfort zone for the first couple of weeks, for sure. For the first couple of months, yes. But I allowed myself to be drawn back in to my normal life. I needed the stability. I was starting to not be the person that I perceived myself as. So I stepped right back into my comfort zones, and I didn't have to deal very much with being out of control because I put myself right back in control way back in 1997. And that ultimately led to Angie and I going through a breakup. To get back together back in 2015, there was so much that had to change that I really had to just accept that my life was going to, some would say it explode, but really it imploded. My life, I had to draw it all back into me. I had to implode back into myself and start to rebuild my life back around me because everything was disrupted. One relationship had to end. Another one that I wasn't expecting to start, which was Angie, right away, all of a sudden started out right away in a hurry. And that caused a great deal of chaos in my life. And to top it all off, during that whole mess, I had also changed job positions within the same company. So my work life was out of control. My athletic life didn't have room to exist. My spiritual life was redeveloping itself in ways that I didn't understand. And my personal life was actually the life that felt like it was in the most chaos. So there wasn't one portion of my life that was working the way that I would be planned. But as part of a greater scheme of things, as part of destroying myself and rising like the phoenix up out of the ashes, which I felt that I must do, it just seemed like that was going to be a time in my life that I could not avoid. I just stepped bravely into it because I felt no choice. It was either that or else have no change. And no change was also not an option. So if change was going to happen, it was going to happen full throttle or not at all. And so I just knew that it was going to be living day to day, seeing what was going to happen, and initially not even knowing the true outcome. Any thoughts of going into another relationship as things were coming apart, like directly into another relationship, living with anyone else, Angie, of course, being the potential target, but although that wasn't certain as my breakup was happening, it was supposed to be months away, but it ended up being literally a month, like I'll call it better measured in days away. So yeah, it was probably a good learning experience for me, knowing that I could take nearly every comfort zone that I had and blow it up and let the pieces scatter to the ground and pick them back up and see what was left and see what could be built again. I don't think I ever want to do that again. I can't say that it was comfortable. No, it wasn't comfortable. Wow, I look back at it and I don't really know how I did it. But I guess when one is called to do something, whether you feel it's something you can do or not, many people have stories of doing something that they didn't believe that they could do. Be it something that was within the core of their life or blowing up their lives. And most people, when they take on something that they don't believe that they can do or don't understand how they can get through it, they get through it. And they look back at it and they go, well, that was interesting. I've always lived by numerous cliches. And one of my favorite cliches is when storms are brewing around me, things are only ever half as bad as they seem. Well, in some cases, things are just not quite as bad as they seem. Once in a rare while, things turn out worse than what you can imagine. But us humans on a 3D level, we tend to be a little bit more pessimistic than optimistic. So when things are going bad, we tend to think a little bit more worst case scenario. Now, some people don't, but I'm going with the averages on this one. So, yeah, when you've got no choice, when you're blowing up your life and when things are going to be going crazy as life falls apart, as per the question, if you feel that the net result is going to improve your life, generally things are only going to be half as bad as they seem. Something is going to go a little bit better than you hope. Something is going to probably go a little bit worse. But the things that go better are likely going to outnumber the things that are going to be worst case scenarios. So if you've got someone in your life who's looking to blow things up, or if you're looking to blow up your own life, not that I say, hey, it's a barrel of laughs, just go ahead and blow up your life. Things are only generally half as bad as they seem. Next question. The masculine is used to forging his own way in life. So how does he understand and intellectualize a longing and pull never before experienced in his life? If a masculine, or if anybody, is completely intellectualizing something that they can't understand, chances are they're not going to come to an answer. A little bit of balance, just even a smidge of balance of intellectualizing and spiritualizing. In other words, a balance of 3D and 5D is usually always in play. When you get to the point of being able to spiritualize a little bit, that does leave room for things that do not intellectualize well. And when you don't understand something like a draw to a person, the first place that most people tuck that away is in a word called love. We are trained in our society, I'm going to say the North American society, or let's just leave it at that. I could redefine that many different ways. But for the most part, we're trained to accept that love is not meant to be understood. It's supposed to be something that you can put all the things that you don't understand when it comes to people in your life and just say, I don't get it. It must be love. So right off the bat, love is not really meant to be highly intellectualized. And things that you can't intellectualize, in most cases, when it comes to relationships, can be tucked away under love. So think of it all you can, and when you can't put it anyplace else, you throw it into love. When you've done that, then you don't need to intellectualize it anymore. You just need to intellectualize what is around that love and see how that fits. That is more where the tough intellectualizing comes in. Now, this is part of that question was, in fact, I'm going to read it again. The masculine is used to forging his own way in life. How does he understand and intellectualize a longing and pull never before experienced in his life? If one has never loved before, that would be something never experienced in their life. If one has loved before, then one already has the understanding that they're just not going to understand everything. So if one has loved before, it's actually probably relatively easy to put this longing and pull that you don't really understand into the category of love and give it a home and let it be, and probably let it be happily stored in the category of love. And how that affects the rest of your life, that is the hard part. That is where the intellectualizing comes in. And usually intellectualizing goes into the direction of questioning whether the love that you're not understanding is worth it, whether the juice is worth the squeeze. There's another one of my favorite cliches. Whether the juice is worth the squeeze, whether the love is worth the price of that love being in your life. That is where the intellectualizing comes in. Not a lot of people question love, whether they want to or not. I'm going to call this the last part of this question, this fantastic question one. The masculine is used to forging his own way in life. So how does he mentally and emotionally come to terms with the desire, or perhaps need, to run from the twin flame relationship / connection / union? That would tend to come into play when the masculine has accepted a relationship or a connection or union in his life and then creates the desire or need to run from it. Yes, I totally lived in that realm. I had accepted Angie into my life way back in 1997 / very early 1998. And then I felt the need to end that connection, not knowing that I couldn't really just end the connection. I was just going to end its active existence in my life on a day-to-day basis. But how do you come to terms with that? Like any other relationship that you've completely come to love and accept and enjoy in your life, that you decide that it doesn't fit in your life, it just hurts. It just hurts. And all those things that you believed in that relationship that you've decided to let go of, you start to question whether or not your ability to have those things in your life. Boy, I'm really stumbling over these words. I maybe want to take a run at this from a different angle. When you've trusted yourself, there's the right start. When you've trusted yourself to accept somebody in your life that has an unusual union, and then you've decided that it doesn't fit in your life, you've really taken a run at your own ability to trust yourself. That is very, very damaging. When I was breaking up with Angie, I was very, very shaken completely with the thought that how could have I done this? How could have I found this seemingly magical relationship that seemed to have spirit in it, guiding it, giving me magical moments like reverse sunsets. And yet now I have come to the conclusion I don't want that relationship in my life anymore. How could I go through all that? What have I done to have something that felt so right just be something that I don't want in my life anymore because it doesn't seem to fit? What is wrong with the fit in my life? What is wrong with my own judgment? How could this happen to me? I was totally blaming myself for having let all this happen. And of course, like just in many other relationships that break up, you say, I am never doing that again. In a lot of cases, when you go through that, you're actually blaming yourself and you're not trusting yourself. You're not just accepting that was maybe just the course of the relationship and there was lessons to be learned, and that really there's nothing wrong with yourself. Maybe you're stronger in yourself for what you've learned through going through this, not weaker in yourself. Therefore, because you're not accepting that, a lot of people tend to go into a realm of, I'm not going to allow that in my life again. Like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah, I'm not going to let relationships happen in my life again. So how do you mentally, emotionally come to terms with the desire to run from a twin flame relationship, or any relationship really that you've trusted yourself on? You don't. You end up just having to go through the pain and the healing. The healing is more about trust, not more about the damage. It's more about forgiveness, mostly of yourself. It's not about the damage. You end up looking at where you set yourself up for what you perceive as your failures, as opposed to maybe framing it as your lessons. It's all really about yourself. Even when you think the other person did everything wrong, you still end up questioning why you let them do that. People spend a lot of time self-punishing. And when you're mentally and emotionally coming to terms with the desire to let somebody go, that is your deepest form of self-punishment, because you're letting them go because in a lot of cases you felt that you have done something wrong. And maybe you have, but it's framing it as being a lesson in your life to tuck away and use positively for the future, as opposed to a lesson that you tuck away and protect yourself from your potential futures. That is the key. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. Again, another cornerstone, very common cliche. And when I find myself saying that I've just gone through an experience, I sometimes question what my desires were, what my wants were to begin with, that caused me to need to go through an experience. If an experience is a lesson, then maybe sometimes what I was wanting and instead got the lesson, maybe what I was wanting was not really on base with my soul purpose, my soul mission. So with that in mind, let's go to my question that I had for myself this morning, because something that I wanted did not turn out at all the way that I wanted. So my question to myself was, with all that I could possibly want and plan in my life, how do I deal with divine timing? I woke up this morning with a plan in mind. This is actually a Thursday. I worked a couple of extra Saturdays. I normally work Monday to Friday. So when I work a Saturday, I get a day off some other time in my life. I worked a couple of Saturdays recently, and I've just stacked a Thursday and a Friday off in front of a Saturday, Sunday. Woohoo! I got a 4-day weekend. I'm going to knock the world dead with this kind of time. I'm not used to having this kind of time in my life, so I had all sorts of things I wanted to do. Yeah, I've got a workout plan today in my little basement gym, which is actually not so little. It's quite elaborate. It's very much a guy's gym. I might even go for a run today if I can find some sidewalks that aren't covered in ice. Yes, this is February up here in Canada. So yeah, I just looked out the window. Yep, I see snow everywhere. But there might be some sidewalks that don't have some ice. So I got that planned today. I'm a model railroader, but I didn't plan on doing that today. I just finished absorbing a lot of my spare time in the past year and a half of my life into, actually it's only been a year. How about that? It's only been a year into working on my model railroad. Of course it's elaborate. It's giant. It's not just a little train set sitting on a table. It's hundreds of feet of track and 11 engines and over 100 railway car and 16 switches. It's giant. It's my style. But I wasn't going to work on that today. I also work on coins. I've got a coin collection, a very modest coin collection, but that's what I wanted to do today. So I deliberately didn't have anything planned to work on my train set. I was going to get up this morning and I was going to work on my poor beleaguered coin collection that I've totally not worked on because I've been so obsessed on working on my train set. So this morning, I get up, I go down to where my coin collection is, I pull out my supplies, except that didn't work. I have somehow or another mislaid my supplies for my coin collection. My 10 hours I was going to spend today working on my coin collection outside of a little bit of athletics. Now what? I'm not prepared to work on my trains because I don't have train supplies ready to go. I can't work on my coin collection because my coin supplies are mislaid or whatever. I don't know how I did that. So now, what am I going to do with my day with stuff that's going to matter? I got a day off. I got to do something with it. I started to panic. So lately, in the background of my life, I started doing a diary. I've got what's called my continuous ramble on my computer. Starting back last October, I've been journaling, much like Angie journals. I've been journaling things that seem to matter even to the remoteless bit to my spiritual life. I've been journaling this stuff. So I come upstairs and I start to journal. And then I know that Angie had left the questions behind for me for potentially doing a video, but I really had no intention on doing a video today because I was going to be busy with my coin collection. Now, what's happened? How does divine timing work? Divineness, I think, caused me to plan a day and then not get to do it. And what else am I going to do with my day? I've got a video that I could potentially do. That's my third string planned for today, but guess what? I'm doing a video. I started to think about divine timing. And I actually went over to my continuous ramble on the computer and I started typing out in my ramble about divine timing and how that can sometimes work. Then I asked myself a question. Why does divine even care about time? Divine doesn't care about time. Angels are great at answering questions to those who can speak with angels by saying, oh, something is going to happen soon. Soon in the angel realm can be anywhere from 3 minutes to 3 lifetimes from now. They don't understand time very well. So why have us down here in the 3D world caused divinity to need to actually deal with time? The divine has actually had to come to grips with our 3D time and has actually had to put together divine timing as something that we have had to come up with a term for, to understand that yes, you can make all the plans you want, but divine timing, the timing of things that we do not understand and cannot comprehend. For example, me losing my coin collecting supplies, which is incomprehensible to me. We come up with a term of divine timing, where we say divineness is going to steer us in the direction that we need to go in the time that we need to do it. So today I have had to come to terms that I was not divinely in time with working on my train set or my coin collection or even doing my workout before I did anything like a video. No, typing in my continuous ramble must have been more important. Doing a video today must have been more important, because all my other options were swept aside, leaving me with my continuous ramble and doing a video as my purpose for the day. Somebody must have really needed to have me do a video today, and it's going to get posted when it gets posted in the very near future. I'll say soon, but it'll be inside of 24 hours from the day that I actually do this. Somebody must have really needed this more than I needed to work on my coin collection today. And with that comes the understanding that divine timing needs to be embraced, because sometimes the divine needs us to do things on divine terms. Sometimes, in the grand scheme of things, we need to do our bit to keep some wheel of motion in the world of divinity, some wheel of motion more important than our individual selves. Divineness needs that to happen. So once in a while, I'm sure the divine says, no, you want to do Project A, I need you to do Project B. And I'm going to stand in the way of Project A until you choose Project B and do what you need to do with that. And then somehow or another, I will give you Project A back. I'm sure that sometime in the next anywhere from 25 minutes to 25 hours, I'm going to walk right by my supplies box and go, oh, that's where I put it. Why couldn't I find that earlier? Is because it was not my divine time to find this. Because me not working on my coin collection today is absolutely ununderstandable from a simple 3D point of view. That is how one defines and deals with divine timing. It's based, I think, on acceptance. And sometime I will have time off again, without Angie being at home, she'll be at work, where I can focus on doing some very needed time with my coin collection. There's a whole lot of acceptance on this journey. And I say that with a little resonance of fate in my voice, and it's not anger, because I'm happy to carry on with my journey however it carries me. This is fun. I really enjoy doing everything that I do. I just have had to learn in my life that has sometimes had a lot of control in it, to let go and let things happen, knowing that I'm still going to have a roof over my head, I'm still going to have food in my belly. Angie's going to come home tonight and we're going to share stories of our day and enjoy an evening together of some type. Or maybe she's going to do her own thing, and maybe I'll be free to do other things in my evening. It's not like I don't have 40 other things I could do. But it seemed to me that the divine wanted me to look after divine things. And with that in mind, enough of me ranting about divine timing. I'm talking with a smile on my face. I'm happy, and we all need to look at the more happier things in our lives, even when things are a little bit or a lot tough. I'll leave you with that. This has been, I'll call it Christina-based video number 1. There'll be videos after this, and when I get through with the Christina list, I'm sure that many of you will have asked for clarification through the forum of other questions, and I will have many, many questions to still answer. Thank you. We will catch you later. Bye.